to do, and my object is D5. Okay, so this time this is my action. This is what I want to do. I want to return 42 times 110. This is my object. This is the question mark that I'm trying to resolve. And I will put the result here.
That's one line down.
Oh, okay, so 9. And this time I copy and paste it here, and then replace the question mark with 42 times 11.
400,620.
462. Oops. 4620. There we go. And I'll just make this fit here because otherwise it will still look okay, but this is better. Okay, and I'm done. I do not print anything at this point because my job as a return statement, which is G42, is only to resolve and change the question mark. I do not execute the print statement. After line 9, we are at the end of the subroutine. So once again, we find out which 3 columns we have to deallocate, and then we're done with the execution of the subroutine, and this is on line 11. I forgot about that. Where do we go next?
Line 13.
Line 13, very good. What else do we have to do on line 13?
Print.
Just printing it out, right? So we can do that. Print 4620 and post. All done. Yep.
So if you also write anything that had print K, you would just write also in the side, just print whatever K is at that time?
Exactly. If I have one additional line, like line 14 print K, then I would just print whatever K has, which in this case is 11. Okay. I know this is really long and convoluted, but it does illustrate every single concept. Well, not every, but most of the concepts.
That was a helpful thought of that. But I do have a quick question.
Yep.
And this may be a dumb question, I don't know. But
I don't answer dumb questions, so you. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Find out how dumb it is then. How do we know when to use return info versus return line?
Okay. The question is, when do we use return info and when do we use return line number?
Right.
Technically speaking, you can use return info every single time. It's just that sometimes you only need to know what line to continue execution. It has to do with whether the subroutine itself is returning a value or not.
So if it's returning a value, then we need the line. We need return line.
No, if it is returning a value, you use return info.
Okay.
Because it is only filling a spot and there are other things to do on the same line, and therefore return line number is not sufficient anymore.
Gotcha.
Let me just to kind of explain that a little bit more. Return line number is very simple-minded. It tells me when I'm done with a subroutine which line do I go to continue execution, right? Which is what we did all the way until we have the return statement. And that's because when you have a return statement, when you have a statement that looks like this one here, just saying that when I'm done with revoke S5, we go back to line 13 is not enough, because what else do I have to do on line 13? Well, just saying line 13 is not telling me what else I have to do, which is printing the value. And that's why we have the concept of a return info, which not only tells me I have to go back to line 13, but it also tells me, oh, by the way, when you get back to line 13, there's still the print action that you have to perform. Is that making any sense?
I think so.
Now, but it does not. Let me just show you one really, really quick example and make sure I save this one first, because this one is probably one of the most convoluted but also at the same time useful example. Okay, so let me just show you why I can always use return info and not return line number. It's just sometimes we don't have to go that far. Okay, define sub, simple. Okay, simple does not do anything. Okay, because all I want to do is to illustrate why it is still okay to use return info all the time. So on the outside, I'll just go ahead and say invoke simple. And okay, let's say I'm done. Okay? This is my entire program. Really, really dumb and useless program, but nonetheless very useful to illustrate why return info can be used all the time. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the trace of this. I guess I need comments because I have that one thing I have to print later on. Okay, nothing to say. There are no global variables. Line 3 is the first line in the entire program. I start with line 3. When I execute line 3, I have to invoke a subroutine simple. Now, in this case, normally we'll use a return line number because that's all I need to know is which line do I have to go back to, which is line 4. But if I want to, I can use return info, which is fine. It's just that what do you specify in return info? Well, in this case, I cannot say line 3 because line 3 is all done by the time I'm returning. So you just have to say line 4, print, I'm done. In other words, it's just tedious. You can do it, it's just tedious and somewhat pointless to use return info when you can just use return line number. You can look at return line number as a shorthand of return info when you don't go back to the same line. So just to carry out this entire thing, I go into the subroutine, nothing to do. We go to line 2. Line 2 says, okay, we'll go ahead and deallocate everything. At the end of a subroutine, we have to use the return info to tell me where to go to. In this case, it tells me to go to line 4. What is line 4? Line 4 is just saying print, the literal string I'm all done, or I'm done. So that's exactly what I'll do, is print I'm done. And then we are done. Go to post. So it's just a very simple illustration, of yes, you can use return info all the time. It's just that sometimes it doesn't really do anything useful, and it's just a waste of time to retype the entire line. And in those cases, you can use return line number as a shorthand and say, oh, we just need to go back to that line and start from the beginning of that line. Okay. Did I answer the question?
I think so.
That's a good question. It is a good question, because it prompted me to answer that, to present it in a different way. Instead of saying return info is an expanded form of return line number, you can also look at return line number as a shorthand of return info when you're going to the next line instead of the same line again. All right. Well, don't hesitate. Do not stop doing your homework assignment. I think today's class, should really, really help with the homework assignment.
That was the most helpful example ever. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, if you guys did not ask the questions, I would not have explained it the way I did, and I would probably go back and change my notes yet again to incorporate what I said in the class.
Seeing the end value change, how it's the same parameter, but it's returning a different number with each invocation. That clarifies so much because it's really confusing. Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's really, that was like the best example ever.
Okay, well that's good.
This is going to be online, right?
Yeah, it's going to be saved now. I'll post it online. Yep, and so will the entire video capture, so you can actually watch the whole thing again.
If this was like in a note form, this would be a lot easier when you're actually doing it.
Oh, you want it in a note
I
form
need
instead
any
of a
visual
video?
cues. Oh no, the video to remind me. I was just saying for like future classes or whatever.
I'm going to
have
incorporate it into the notes too.
To have like the spreadsheets and notes, it actually helps me.
It's really hard for me to to take a snapshot of a spreadsheet and put it into the notes, especially when it goes all the way to column.
Where can I find the uploaded spreadsheets to look at?
Oh, that's easy. Let me